Konami Studios.
Invincible Season 1. We live in a world where everything gets an adaptation now, and since Goldberg and Rogan have their big thing going on with Amazon where we're just adapting everything that they love, do Invincible. Why the hell not? If the boys can work, Invincible can work. So, a couple of things I want to talk about before we get into the actual show. First off, I've said it in places before on this channel, I am not the biggest fan of Invincible. I can't get into it the way other people have. I look at the property, I look at the world, the characters, everything about it, and what I see is something I am not a fan of. I don't enjoy what this book does sometimes. There are certain elements about it I like. There are times where it's like, oh, it's a comic book homage, it's flipping the switch, it's doing different things in the genre, you know? That stuff's kind of cool. But I think it's bogged down by stuff I don't enjoy, and something I don't want to talk about it a lot when it comes to this show or this video, but I have to bring it up, because I think it's important to the actual story and something that hinders my enjoyment of stuff. I don't like when every portrayal of a Superman archetype has to be dark and gritty. Now, you can do it a bit differently here because, you know, we even got Mark, and Mark's a nice version of that trope too, but I don't need to see the over-violent action happening and everything. Like, I know some people are like, man, this show's like a raw idea of like superpowers and strength and how it like can break people so easily. Sure, that's fantastic. That's realistic, because if people in the real world had those powers, they'd kill people easily. I think what's harder to do is tell the reverse of that and show how you control those powers and be a good person. Like Superman, like Samaritan. Those are my types of characters with those powers that I enjoy. I don't need to see the Omni-Man stuff ever. I don't need that. That's one of the things that kind of hinders me from kind of enjoying this property is I don't need the gratuitous violence. I think when you look at the television stuff, it works better for the boys just because the boys took something that was a hate piece that was just so angry and violent and miserable. That's like, I hate comic books, jerk off, I hate it. And it said, let's give that heart and emotion and actually make you feel for that stuff. We're going to have the violence and the intensity that you love, but we're going to have that here. Now, I'm not saying that's not in Invincible. There's heart and emotion in Invincible, but it's not there the way I think it is in The Boys, and I don't know what that is. So, 8 episodes of this season. We have an all-star voice cast. We have a huge company behind this, and they just renewed it for 2 more seasons. A few things up at the top here. I didn't love the season. I think what this did, though, was condense a really intense story that's almost inadaptable into like live action, and it condensed it into 8 episodes that felt narratively satisfying. Like, it flowed well to the point where I'm like, yeah, this seems likely. Like, we're not doing anything over the top. We're not doing anything crazy where it's just like all like the insane action stuff. It happens, but like it flows naturally. And I think that's something I like about this at the same time. Like, that's really cool. But going there too, there's certain things where it does, I'm like, we spent a lot of time in certain areas that I don't think we needed to spend time on. I don't think it helped the story. I don't think it added anything to the story. We focus on some of the wrong stuff. And that's kind of the thing about this that I know people were praising. It's 45 minutes an episode. It's going to be so long and intense. First off, I need to get this out of the way. The animation is terrible more often than not. And I know they're praising, people are praising the animation. There are certain moments where the animation is really good. Very specific moments where you're just like, I see where all of the money went to this. That is really good to see. But more often than not, there are moments where the animation is terrible and very stiff, and like it's just people standing there. I hate it. I know it's a trope and everything, but I just don't like it when like when people who are floating are just motionless. They're not moving. They're just up. And when Mark's flying, sometimes he's just like stiff and the background's moving. It doesn't look cool or good. And then you get like, you get that when you get like some really good action sequences. And I'm like, why is this what's happening? the action sequences that look really good, if that was the budget and we used that money for everything else, this would look fantastic. But because we didn't have a lot of money, and I'm sure we'll get more money with season 2, I'm not complaining about that at all because that's how these things go. It just really sucked how stiff it was at times, and I really felt it in the last episode when literally it would just show like people not moving anything. I think one of the things it did to like show that, like, I don't want to get into like where the animation was hindered and stuff, but I will say I don't think the animation blew me away. And some people, that's okay. Some people aren't going to look at that stuff, but I do, because this is Invincible. It is big. It's powerful. People love this stuff. I'm not the guy that loves it, but I think people are going to be like, this is going to be like the comic book. I don't think it's like the comic book. First off, you can't capture that lightning again, even in like a moving picture format. You just can't. It does a good enough job, but I just don't think the animation lived up to that. Maybe if we didn't hire like celebrities for every random voice, we would have a little more money left over. Like, I get why you do that, but you don't need to hire Mark Hamill or Ezra Miller or John Hamm or Seth Rogen or Walton Goggins for any number of reasons. You don't need them. You have actual voice actors in this show doing the side characters. Just give them the main voices. You know what? I'll give you Steve Ewan and J.K. Simmons as your leads. But do you need Sandra Oh? Do you need Jillian Jacobs? Do we really need them? They're not adding anything having them be the voice. They're just like, oh, we're paying them extra now. And there's certain ones where it's annoying, like Mahershala Ali, really? For that role? Did we need that to be him? We have some fantastic voice actors on this show who could have done that role better, in my opinion. Having it as Mahershala Ali, it didn't do anything. It just like, yeah, okay, we just paid an Oscar winner to do it. Why? Why did we need that? That bothers me a lot, because it's like, you have real, genuine voice actors doing roles on this show. Give them more money and make them the leads. Who's that gonna hurt? You're giving people what they want anyway, so just do that. It's like, I don't know. That stuff really is upsetting me. It's like, this character, in particular, I'm like, this character did not need to be John Hamm. This character did not need to be Ezra Miller. You could have got a really notable voice actor to do that role, and it would be just as fine. I'll give you the Walking Dead stars as the Guardians of the Globe. That's kind of fun. But the rest, I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing here. It's not cute. It's annoying. And I didn't like that. And, you know, the animation, it's fine. The voice acting, it's good, but sometimes it's just like, yeah, okay, you got a celebrity for there. Did that need to be the voice? Whatever. The story itself, it's pretty good. If you haven't read the comic book, I think you're going to like this still. Like, I know people that love the comic book are going to really like this too. Like, I can't get into this property. It's like one of those things I'm just like, oh, I don't know. And maybe that's Robert Kirkman, because I've said it before too. I'm not the biggest fan of everything he writes. That being said, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Robert Kirkman, because he pretty much did what I want to do in the comic book industry. I would love to just take something that I want to write, turn it into an empire, make something like Skybound, and then tell the stories I want to tell, and have people read them and be excited about what I made. That's the dream. That is the dream every creator is chasing. I'm chasing it too, so I can't hate him for that. And I can't say I would have done Invincible better, because I wouldn't want to write Invincible. It's just too over the top for me at times. And I know there's an audience for that, so I can't hate people for liking that. But one of the things that hinders this for me is, I don't think Mark is a very compelling lead. I think it falls into the trope of just being, oh, we're trying to show how different he is than characters like Spider-Man or other people in school, but then it just runs the gamut of being, we're literally setting up like, okay, here's his Ned Leeds or his Harry Osborn, here's his Mary Jane Watson, here's his Gwen Stacy. Then those characters get no other personality, and they just become side pieces to make him look more interesting. Mark's not a very good guy. I get the idea, like the struggle early on in your superhero career to be like, oh man, am I gonna be the superhero? Can I do this? It's like, but you're trying to subvert expectations already. Like, you're already showing like, oh look, Superman's evil. Oh look, he killed the Justice League. Oh look, the Teen Titans are now the Justice League. Oh look, Mary Jane doesn't care that you're Spider-Man, and now she's just like, I'm breaking up with you because that's not an excuse. Oh look, Luke Cage is a gang leader now. You can't subvert expectations and then fall back on them and expect it to work. It just doesn't. And that is something I don't like about Mark. I will say I'm a big fan of Steve Ewan. I think he's fantastic. I like that he was nominated this year for an Academy Award. His voice acting in this wasn't as good as J.K. Simmons, but how could you be? It's J.K. Simmons. I think what really hindered it was like he did the same voice for every scene. It's a little moody at times. It's a little over the top at times, but it worked well enough that I think people will like it. Again, people are going to like this. If you've never read Invincible, I'm going to tell you this right now. And if you haven't seen the show, you haven't read the book, this is pretty much Invincible. Take what you know about comic books and just kind of like flip it on its head a little bit. Not enough where you don't understand, but it's like, oh look, Spider-Man and Superman are the same guy. Superman's dad is very powerful. Oh look, what is his name? Cecil is just Nick Fury. Like, you get it. That's what I was watching this with somebody who didn't know a lot about the book or the characters. I'm like, oh yeah, that's just like Hellboy. Yeah, you've read a comic book, you get it. That's Hellboy. You've read a comic book, that's Nick Fury. You get it. You've read a comic book, yeah, that's just a robot. That's Brainiac. You get it. Like, you get it. So there's not anything extra to it. I don't think it's like a genre-defying piece. It's just like, yeah. And it doesn't do like the homage thing that I think some other stuff does. I don't know. This piece, it's not for me in particular. I do think it gets a lot of extra hype just because of the blood and how intense it is. But there are times where the blood and the gore and the guts, it looks really good. At times, again, it's like, I don't like it. I will give it to the credit. The story flows well. The characters are mostly likable. The side characters are very likable. Even if they are voiced by an actor who didn't need to be there, it happens. I can get behind it. They do a good job of making you like some of the characters. But at the same time, if you condense this down, maybe 30-minute episodes, and you did maybe 10 of them, and maybe not even 10, but if you condense this down, maybe got rid of some of the plot lines that didn't really need to be in there. Like, we didn't need to spend that much time with like those two clone guys. I get why we do, and there's a humorous element to that for some people, but we get rid of that. We cut down some of the stuff with maybe like Robot. I don't know, maybe then we focus a little bit more and we could like get a couple of great 30-minute episodes with a big budget and actually have it mean something. I think that would have flowed better than what we got here. Because sometimes, well, the story worked fine and they set up the tension really well to a beautifully created climactic ending where every character gets their moment to shine, even the side characters. I think that worked really well, and I like that they gave Debbie something to do aside from being like the concerned mom. She actually had a storyline. That's very cool to see. They made Adam Eve a little more interesting in my opinion than what I saw in there. I don't know, it's fine. It's a fine series. I'm not gonna say it blew me away because it didn't. I'm not gonna say that it's not going to blow people away because it probably will. I mean, you know what I like in my comic books. Look at the shirt I'm wearing. I'm not saying this is better than Invincible. I'm just saying this is more my speed when it comes to like a mature comic book setting. Invincible, it's too hardcore for me, but this season, this series, it's going to make a lot of people happy and impressed. But if you can get behind the voice actors for no reason, if you can get behind the animation lackluster in some reasons, and you can just understand like, okay, it's Spider-Man but Superman, you're probably gonna like it. Do those things make me like it? Not really, but it's not for me. I'm gonna come back and watch the next season, of course, but it's not for me. And you know what? Maybe if we come back next year, I'll talk in depth on each episode, and my opinion might change. But as it stands, the first season of Invincible, I think, is a very basic story that just went a little above and beyond with its blood and guts, and that's going to be something that makes the general audience go, oh, this is different, when in fact, it's not different. It's just bloodier. And maybe that's the point, and maybe that's why I don't get it. I don't know. And I don't really want to talk about Invincible anymore because people are going to hate me for it. Look, I like comics, but Invincible is like the one I can't penetrate. I just can't figure out the mass appeal of it. You know, I get Walking Dead, but I can't get Invincible. I don't know why. This is the one that I can't get into. Invincible Season 1, I am going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff. And I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck. Good luck to me. Are you kidding? I'm going to get so many hate comments.